You know, it almost feels like yesterday. Milan was playing against Liverpool in the Champions League final of 2007. A Champions League final is always a special occasion, but this one? This was different. You see, only 2 years before that, Liverpool made a miraculous comeback in Istanbul from 3-0 down and won the Champions League. I gotta be honest, that really hurt. And fate brought these two teams back to another final. The stage was set, and Milan was looking forward to put the demons of Istanbul behind them. And the match was going well. Perhaps too well. With Milan going up to 2-0 with a Pippo Inzaghi brace, the game was about to end with that scoreline. But of course, Liverpool had to score at the end and give me a heart attack for the remaining few minutes of the match.
Oh shit, here we go again.
All of a sudden, the ghosts of Istanbul were alive and staring at us. You could literally see it in the players' faces, but Milan persevered and won the game 2-1 at the end. That's when I realized one thing. This club is not good for my health. That being said, Milan were the champions of Europe, and the future looked bright. This could have been the stepping stone to a bright future. So what did you feel after that 2007 final? Did you feel like this is the end of the road for us? Did you know that this is going to be almost nothing else for a long while? Or did you think that, you know, this is just a beginning and we're going to go and get more and more Champions Leagues?
Well, honestly, when you win in the Champions League, you're on the roof of European football, you know? So you're more or less the top of the world. And of course, the last thing that you're going to think of is, you know, bad times coming. The feeling was for Milan was like, okay, still be unbeatable. We're going to go for our other Champions League. So of course, yes, we were thinking, you know, this is AC Milan. We have 7 Champions League. We're gonna get for the 8. Why not? So I never thought about, bad times were coming. How can you think of a revolution when you're on top of the world?
Well, it's safe to say that Milan never returned to those heights again after that Champions League final in 2007. And of course, it didn't really help that our eternal rivals, Inter, won the treble with Mourinho in 2010. That being said, we did have a temporary resurgence when we won the league title in 2011. But hey, we're not here to talk about the good times here. We're gonna talk about the Banter era. I'm gonna start a series where I'm gonna interview fans on how they survived their own Banter era. And hey, I'm gonna start with my beloved Milan. I'm gonna do a similar video on United, Arsenal, Inter, Liverpool, and pretty much every club that went through some kind of a Banter era. So in this video, I'm gonna have my boy Old Heart Rosanero back on this channel and talk about those terrible years. We're gonna talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of Milan. And we're gonna do it with a smile. But the question is, how did Milan fall into this horrific Banter era? Well, to do that, we gotta go all the way back to summer 2012 when Milan played their last match of the season. It's summer 2012 and Milan is about to play their last match of the season against Novara. That was a painful match for multiple reasons. Just a week before that, Juventus officially won their first league title in a while under Antonio Conte. So Milan went to their last match with the fate of the league already decided. But there was even a bigger elephant in the room. An aging elephant that's been around for a few years. But it was finally time to address it. That match against Novara was a farewell game of many Milan legends who were either retiring or were leaving the club. This was the last match that we were gonna watch Nesta, Seedorf, Gattuso, Pippo Inzaghi, and Gianluca Zambrotta. Legends that have won so much in the game, while Zlatan and Thiago Silva were sold to PSG because, well, money problems.
Why, God, why? We had a deal. Let the others grow old, not me.
Milan would go on to win the game 2-1, with a tearful Pippo Inzaghi scoring for the last time in front of San Siro. After the departure of these legends and the sales of Zlatan and Thiago Silva, the heart and the soul of Milan was ripped apart. So how did you feel after that Novara game when all those legends left the club?
So at that Novara game, I was in San Siro on the second blue ring of San Siro. And that was my last match in Milan because then in 2012, I left Milan and I went to live in Australia for 2 years. So that match for me was special for my personal life and also because we knew that the thing will change. I remember that we were down 1-0 and then Pippo Inzaghi scored the 2-1 and I remember this is the perfect ending. Like even you can't script it. It's perfect. Pippo Inzaghi, 2-1, end of the match, end of the season, end of me in Milan. Perfect. The thing is that, guys, you have to remember that during that season, we said goodbye to players like Gattuso, Pippo Inzaghi, Nesta, Zambrotta, Seedorf, player that has been with Milan for years. They won everything. And you can still see someday, if you put it on YouTube and search it, the farewell of these players, the pictures, the Curva Sud, which is Milan stand. They prepare they put the jersey of Milan, of Inzaghi, Pippo, Nesta, and Rino Gattuso on the second ring, and like a choreography, like, hey guys, thank you so much for everything. And you have also to imagine that during that season, we sold Thiago Silva, Ibrahimovic, Pato, and Cassano. Okay, so imagine a team without Gattuso, Inzaghi, Nesta, Zambrotta, Seedorf, Thiago Silva, Ibrahimovic, Pato, and Cassano in one season.
Well, it was a painful match and a painful season overall for Milan. And the sales of Zlatan and Thiago Silva didn't really help matters either. As Milan fans, we knew straight away that from the next season, we're gonna have some growing pains. That we're gonna start the season with minimum expectations. No longer did we expect Milan to challenge for the title. And although the transfers of Nigel de Jong, Montolivo, and loan move of Bojan from Barcelona were alright, I guess, they were nowhere near enough to replace all those legends who literally made history in the past decade. So during that summer, after Milan sold Thiago Silva and Zlatan Ibrahimovic, what was going in your head? Like, did you think that this is Project Zero again? Or did you think that, we're going to come up with solutions, we're going to remain competitive, and, it won't be too much of a challenge. It will be just a small transition and we'll be back at the top.
It was the year that 2012 actually was the first year that I thought, okay, now we have a foundation to get to Champions League again, and be competitive in Champions League again. Because in the same year, with Thiago Silva and Ibrahimovic, Arsenal came to San Siro and we won that match 4-0. And that was the beginning of the climb. And of course, in one season, you sell Thiago Silva, you sell Ibrahimovic, and then you don't have anymore the backbone of Pippo Inzaghi, Nesta, Zambrotta, Gattuso. And the year you sign Balotelli, Pazzini, Bojan Krkic, Montolivo, Constant, Montari, Niang. Where do you want to go with this team? Where do you want to go with this team? Tell you again the name: Balotelli, Pazzini, Bojan Krkic, Montolivo, Constant, Montari, and Niang.
What did you think? There was this specific game that I watched, and Soli Montari was the captain, and I was like,
"That's it. That's it.
Shit.
That's it."
Like, how far did we come down?
How, man? How? What? No. It's a business, right? So there is a moment of instability where there is no project, there is no ideas, there is nothing really that can.
The future was bleak, and the season ahead was uncertain at best. But hey, we have Pato, right? I mean, this is a kid that's supposed to be the next big thing. And now, more than ever, it's time for him to shine. And yeah, he's injured for the 67th time and was sold to Corinthians. But hey, at least we have this kid with a mohawk, right? I mean, Stefan El Shaarawy was having the season of his life. And with Super Mario Balotelli coming in January and Mbaye Niang, we had a whole front line of mohawks to save our day. Or that's what we thought. You see, while El Shaarawy went on to have a decent career, the other two, well, the less we talk about it, the better. And once again, we were back to square one.
They told us, oh, there is Balotelli, because Balotelli has always been a Milanista. And we were like, yeah, now Mario is going to become mature. He's going to be mature now. He's one of us. He's a super talent. And we're back on board.
No.
But during those years, I was away. During those years of the worst part of the medieval time of Milan, I was away. I was abroad, and people were like, "Oh, are you watching the match of Milan?" I'm like, "Why I should wake up at 4 o'clock a.m. in the morning to watch Milan against Verona with Nyang, Pazzini, Montolivo, and Constant on the right wing? Are you kidding me? Who's gonna wake up for that?"
The situation was really dire now. At this point, Milan was far away from having, well, any meaningful project. Milan was not only far away from competing for any trophy, but also completely absent from any European football. Yup, not even the Europa League. Matter of fact, Milan finished the 2014-15 season in the 10th place. Let me repeat that again. 10th place. Right at the middle of the table. The season when Pippo Inzaghi finished 10th in the season. How far was the league title for you? How far away was the Champions League qualification for you? And how far away was, like, did you think it's going to take that long to win another league title? After that season, after that Pippo Inzaghi season, when we finished 10th in the league. 10th.
You don't see the end. You don't see the end of the tunnel. That's the main problem about this, is that you don't see the lighting at the end of the tunnel. It doesn't get any better. You don't have literally any talent in your team that you can say, "Oh, I like this guy." You know, who I'm gonna buy the jersey of? That was the main question, bro. Really, that was the real question. It's like, during those years, think about it. Okay, I want a Milan jersey. Yes. Of who? Of who you gonna buy a jersey? Of who? And there is really of Bonaventura. Okay. I'm not gonna buy. I mean, that's gonna be actually a funny jersey to buy. If I almost thinking to buy, like, now a jersey of Constant, like of Dorazo. Like, who is these people, man?
Wow.
It's a very far away, very far away. When you don't have an idol in your team, like now, for example, I have the jersey of Kalulu. Now people have the jersey of Leao, Giroud, of Mike Magnan, of Teo Hernandez, Sandro Tonali. You can name it, whatever, you know. But at that time, who you gonna buy the jersey of? Nobody. And should be like already giving an idea how disappointed we as a supporter were about that Milan.
Imagine Jeremy Menez. Jeremy Menez was our top scorer. Jeremy Menez. Just let that sink in. Like, after that season, that he became our top scorer with 16 goals. Was it 16 goals? After that season, I have not seen him either at Milan or anywhere else. Like, I have not seen this guy ever since.
In professional football, he's gone. That's it.
Or in life, I have no idea what he's doing right now. Like, I have to actually Google what happened to this guy. Like, he could be in prison for all we know.
Hey, that could be an idea for a good video. Where is he now?
This is what pushed the limit for all of us. The fans have had enough, and they were making their voices heard. Rumors of a takeover started to circulate, and it really gave us a lot of hope. And that's all we wanted again. Just some hope. Eventually, someone stepped up. A man from China riding on his white horse to save the day for us. I still remember that day. The day that the deal was finalized. It was honestly a bittersweet day for all of us. I mean, here we had Silvio Berlusconi, who has done so much for the club, but was no longer interested in keeping up with the financial demands of the modern football. It would have been one hell of a legacy if he sold the club much earlier, but his apathy in the last 5 years at the club left Milan in a pitiful situation. It was the end of an era and the start of a new one, a new era that promised prosperity. Just around the same time, Milan was playing against Inter in front of their new Chinese owners, and it was not going well at all. Inter went up 2-0 by halftime, and the worst part was no one was really surprised. That being said, Milan equalized in the 97th minute, literally with the last kick of the game. Now, I'm not a believer in omens, but this felt like a good omen for the new ownership. Milan would finish the 2016-17 season in the 6th place and qualify for the Europa League after a 2-year absence from Europe. And we celebrated that? Yep, that's how low we have fallen.
Never this garbage. This!
Anyway, the summer window was upon us, and it was time for the new ownership to make a statement. I mean, we were just expecting a couple of signings here and there, but then...
So, Football Throne, let me ask you this question. After talking about this terrible time, about AC Milan, right? We went through this medieval time, dark time, and then eventually in 2017, somebody show up, Yonghong show up with a big bag full of cash, thinking, make it rain.
Oh yeah.
We bought so many players. I don't even remember how many. I think we're around 11 new players. 12. All right. Anyway, what do you think about that? What do you think about that session of market? What do you think of Bonucci? What was your expectation? Let me know. Tell me.
I mean, let's talk about the setting here. All right.
Right.
We had 5 years of like utter. All right, and then there's this one guy that comes in and spends 200 million in one summer. 200 million. Wow. Now, for those of you that think that's a normal sum of money these days, in 2017 that was a fortune. Like you could build a whole, I wouldn't say your first 11, but you could build something close to that.
Yeah,
with 200. So imagine, here's the backdrop: 5 years of utter defeat and Banter era, and having to withstand, Juventus winning, I think at the time it was 5 in a row, Scudetti.
Very well.
And imagine how exciting was that? Like, dude, I was looking at the internet, I was looking at all over the websites, but the one signing that really turned my head around was Leonardo Bonucci. Now, for those of you that don't remember, this is, again, 2017. 2017, he was a prime defender. He was a senator at Juventus. He wasn't their nobody. Yeah. And we take him like he was at Casa Milan. He was there signing the contract. Yet, like, I couldn't believe my eyes. Well, with more than 200 million spent in one summer, there was a massive feel-good factor that came back to Milan, and especially with the signing of Leonardo Bonucci from Juventus. On paper, Milan had a brilliant transfer window, but in reality, they just looked so disjointed on the field. But that wasn't even Milan's biggest problem. No, very far from it. You see, Milan's new owners took a massive loan to complete the purchase of Milan, and they couldn't pay it back. Milan was, well, in a severe financial mess. I would even say near bankruptcy when the Chinese ownership owned the club. So Milan had to be repossessed by Elliot, who provided that loan to the Chinese ownership. Honestly, the future was grim. And since the loan was taken from Elliot management, they were the default owners without any intention to own Milan. Yonghong defaults on his loan. He defaulted on it. He couldn't pay up. So Milan fell into the laps of Elliot. It's not even like they wanted to buy it. No, Milan as an institution of more than 100 years fell into the laps of these guys who we knew nothing about. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Like, these guys could have said, you know what, I just want to keep you, just keep existing, Who knew? Maybe Milan was gonna be relegated. It also didn't help that our captain, Leonardo Bonucci, jumped ship and moved back to Juventus. So yeah, not the most reassuring of times ahead. That being said, the Elliot brought back Paolo Maldini to run the football side of the club and put on a long-term football project, one that helped Milan get back to the Champions League after 8 years, and after that, win the Serie A again in just 2.5 years. Honestly, looking back, I really think we had the worst Banter era of all major European clubs. These days, Milan has a proper football project, one with young players competing for a league title again. And even more importantly, is back to playing Champions League football, something that still feels surreal to me, even though it's the second season back in the Champions League. I actually made a video on what makes Milan's title win impressive. Feel free to check that one out. Consider it a sequel to this video. I'm genuinely curious about where would this project go to. I've never been this excited about my Milan in a very, very, very long time. I'm not saying that we're close to winning the 8th Champions League again, but god, it feels so good to be back in it and compete for the Scudetto again. Milan still has a long distance to go if they want to get back to their former European domination. But one thing's for sure, the future looks bright for this Milan project as long as they stick to their values that got them here in the first place.